Do you ever run into those shots that feel like they're just impossible to balance? If you do, there's a good chance that you're actually working too hard. But there's a trick that we can steal from visual effects artists to make white balancing a simple, easy, repeatable operation. Let's take a look here inside of Resolve. I'm going to show you what I mean. So what do I have right now? Right now, I'm looking at a timeline of a couple of images here that I've already gone ahead and set up my color management for. I'm color managing in nodes here, so I'm moving from my camera space into my working space here. I've got my timeline level stuff where I'm going out to my display color space, and I've got a little bit of a look in place as well. Lots of videos here on the channel that break down what all these pieces are doing in more detail if you want to explore that further. For now, let's go back over here to the clip level and take a look at what I have on my individual clips. I've gone ahead and done some basic, what I call primary adjustment, just tonal adjustment to get the exposure or the contrast where they need to be for the particular shot. And I'm now at the point where I want to start thinking about my color balance. And if you look at what I've done thus far, I have set my sort of overall tonality for this image using the wheels of my control surface here in my lift, gamma, and my gain, or these sliders down here below my color wheels within my Resolve UI. And the way that I was taught to color grade when I was done kind of like setting my tonal adjustments was to continue on this same path and make adjustments in these same three zones, my lift, my gamma, and my gain, to get the color balance in place. So let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm going to add a new serial node here, and just by eye, using my hands, I'm going to work my lift, my gamma, and my gain trackballs and try to get the image a little bit cooler. It feels like it's coming in just a little bit warmer, a little bit more ruddy, a little bit more tungsten-y than I really want to see, okay? Because I'm working in log, I don't necessarily need to move these a whole bunch to see a strong visual result. So I'm just kind of moving these things by feel and by eye until I'm getting something that I like on the image. And I'm going to give you the spoiler alert right now. I'm already experiencing right now something I experienced for like a lot of my color grading career, where I'm adjusting these three things and I'm already wondering, did I go too far here? Do I need to go a little bit further there? Maybe I'm going completely the wrong direction over here. Is the whole thing terrible? Should I just wipe it out and start over? For your sake, I'm not going to circle into the spiral of self-doubt. We're going to continue forward and say, this is okay for now. Let's go ahead and grab a still of this, all right? And what I want to do now is show you a very different way of getting to the same result, because self-doubt aside, this is a decent job of cooling the image off a little bit. Might not be your perfect grade, but you can grade it yourself if you want to do something better. Let's delete this and do a new serial node. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to my gamma, I'm going to select linear here. Now, we've talked about working in linear a lot here on the channel, and we're not going to stop because working in linear is awesome. And you're going to see what I mean right now. Let's hit linear, and I'm now going to replace working my lift, my gamma, and my gain with working just my gain, okay? Watch what happens. I'm going to start to move this kind of like southeast, like so. By the way, the gain, when you're working in linear, it's a lot less sensitive than when you're working in log. That is just kind of a byproduct of working in linear, but it's something that I really like because I feel like I'm not walking on a knife edge quite so much. I can kind of push things around a little bit and I'm not going to feel as strong of a response from the image. So I actually like that, but just a good thing to be aware of. Now, let's start wiping to where I was before and where I am now, okay? You can see whether you're looking visually or in the vector scope, those are pretty darn close, right? So a couple things have happened here. I've just done a really helpful thing anytime we're color grading, which is to replace a group of adjustments with a single adjustment. That's always helpful because it's going to be more efficient, it's going to be faster. But I've also done something else. I've removed that mental tax that I was just talking about of like, am I even doing the right thing? Am I going too far here, not far enough there? All that kind of goes away because I only have one trackball to manipulate. So I might look at it and go, oh, did I go too far? Okay, let's go back where we came from. Oh, did I go too green? Okay, let's not go so green. But I've only got one trackball, so the mental taxation here is a lot lighter because I'm not having to wonder, where did I mess up? I'm just having to look at, okay, if something isn't quite feeling right, I just need to adjust this single trackball, okay? Let's take a look at a few more examples of this and make sure this thing isn't just a fluke. How about this one? This one has a really strong blue wash. I don't necessarily want to like zero this out, but let's take our lift gamma gain approach to just getting a little bit more kind of color separation in here. And again, I'm just going mostly by feel and by eye. When I started to get good at this, when I was doing this a lot, I was only even dimly aware of what my hands were doing or what direction I was going, and I'm just looking at the image. And developing that touch and that feel is something that, to be honest with you, I'm not mad that I did. So it's time well spent if you have logged some hours doing a lift gamma gain type of discrete balancing approach like I'm showing as the sort of V1, what I was first taught. Let's say this is decent here. Let's once again exit off of the highway of self-doubt before I start spiraling out of control and grab a still here. Let's delete this, and we're gonna do a new serial node, right-click on the node, set the gamma to linear, and I'm gonna try and essentially match what I just did. Again, linear gain, much less sensitive than log lift gamma and gain, so I'm gonna have to push things a little bit harder. But I've just slotted into a really similar place really quickly, just like we did in our first shot. Let's take a look at one more here. And while we're taking a look at this one, I'm gonna add a serial node here. Once again, start working my lift gamma and gain. I'm gonna point out another benefit of operating in linear like this. It's not just that it's faster, it's actually a cleaner, more photometric operation. If you don't know what I'm saying or what I'm talking about when I say photometric, I mean more modeling the physical world or the behavior of light out in the real world. Manipulating linear gain or adjusting linear gain is actually a better way of characterizing or of sort of mimicking the way light changes out in the real world. So what we're doing right now, this is a very sort of like graphical or color correction type of thing. There's not necessarily a photographic equivalent of adjusting the lift of our image, right? But if I grab a still here once again, let's just A/B, do my favorite test of all time when I'm color grading. Does the before look, or rather does the after look better than the before? If it doesn't, need to go back to the drawing board. If it does, then we're going the right direction, right? Off, on, I think we're getting there here. Let's grab the still. Once again, we're gonna delete this and we're gonna add a new serial node, set our gamma to linear, and we're gonna see if we can't do a similar thing with a single trackball. I'm just gonna start moving kind of like almost dead north with my gain trackball. By the way, if you don't have a control surface like I do here, you can use, of course, your UI within Resolve. And it's worth noting, you're probably gonna have more fun working the color wheel when you are inside of a linear operation because you're gonna have much less sensitivity and it's not gonna feel as crazy to drag your mouse around as when you're working in log. So if we compare our two images, once again, I've landed in a really similar spot really quickly. So hopefully we can start to see that this is a trend, not just a fluke, that you can indeed get to really similar results more quickly when you're operating in linear gain compared to making lift, gamma, and gain adjustments. And as I just mentioned, what's more is this is actually a better way of doing things. This is a cleaner, purer way of doing things. It's a better way to manipulate the image. You can almost think of what we're doing here as changing the response of the red, green, and blue photo sites or buckets for color in the camera sensor. We're really just altering that ratio, that relationship when we adjust our linear gain in this way, compared to altering our lift, gamma, and gain, which really have no such analog. That's just a thing that we're doing to our image to make it look better. Nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with having something that's got a bit more of a relationship, a tether to the physical world and to the light that we're trying to shape into our final image. So I hope that's a helpful hack for you guys. I don't know if I'm on my own there, if you never had that experience of like, gosh, am I doing the right thing with all these different trackballs? But that was like a big overwhelming theme in my color grading practice for a long time. So when I put this piece together and I figured out, hey, how are visual effects artists doing it? It really shook something loose for me. And just to kind of conclude that thought, visual effects artists work in linear as their default. And one of the reasons, probably the main reason, is because linear is the domain of stuff that happens out in the real world. So when a visual effects artist is compositing a different application onto a phone screen and it's meant to look as if that was what was shown to the camera in the first place, the sensible domain to do that is in a linear domain. That's why they are generally more hip to this than we are as colorists. And that's why I was so excited when I figured out, hey, that's something that I could steal and incorporate into my practice and get better results more quickly and have more fun along the way.